using alone is part of addiction, and it's not the stigma of addiction primarily that makes these people use alone. A lot of it has to do with the stigma of recovery. When you're told over years that recovery doesn't work, recovery is unattainable, if you're an addict, you need to be on medication for the rest of your life, all this other stuff that goes along with that conversation piece of using. If I am 19 to 35 years old and I'm a construction worker and I'm making $5,000 to $6,000 a month, I'm going to use alone. Like I don't want my employer to know I'm using. I don't want to go to a consumption site. I don't want anyone using with me because I don't want to share my dope.
I started using hard drugs after high school, maybe when I was 19 or 20. So I got in a car accident and I had to take time off of school and work, so I was left with all this time on my hands, plus I was in a lot of physical pain, and somebody offered me a Percocet, and that was kind of the beginning of my opiate addiction. I did eventually end up homeless. That also took a while. Like I had a car at one point, I had a house, not owned a house, but like I had a place to live and all that sort of stuff. Eventually everything, all the material stuff started to disappear, and yes, I did end up homeless for a couple of years.
Because of where I work at Last Door, many years ago I realized there's two populations out there. There's the people that are using on the streets, but then there's an entire community out there, which is more people that have jobs, money, cars, and families that are also using substances.
I started using when I was about 12 to 13. Started out with marijuana, with pain pills, with amphetamines, things like that, alcohol. I ended up on the downtown east side for about 10 years. Shooting up in the alleys, overdosing, on opiate replacement therapy, on, just enmeshed in a life that was never going or changing into anything other than what it had become right there. I used because I was addicted. In the beginning, it was fun. It was something that we did. My family were addicts. It's what we did together. And at the end of it, I was just addicted to drugs and I couldn't stop.
My father's been kind of in and out of recovery for a good portion of my life, so I wasn't unaware of recovery and treatment and whatnot, but it took a while for me to kind of understand that I needed to be there as well, and it took meeting some people in detox that were in recovery themselves that kind of pushed me in the right direction. All I know is that I wanted to stop the way I felt, and I wanted to stop using, but I didn't know how, and that's kind of like where the idea of just taking my own life kind of set in, and it seemed like the best option at that point.
I worked in an office downtown. I wore a suit every day to work, and I would use in the downtown east side in the alleys. And when I finally got caught, I was told, go to rehab or you're fired. Pretty simple. I came into recovery to learn how to use successfully. That was my intro to recovery, which is pretty much the consensus with everyone. I don't know of many people that's like, I'm done using today and I'm going to go to rehab.
At the depths of my addiction, I would say, when I found out that I was pregnant, and so my doctor suggested that I meet with a methadone doctor, and she suggested that I get on methadone right away. So I started at a low dose, 30 mils, but every week that I would meet with her, the dose went up. It got to the point where I was on about 150 mils of methadone, and I was about 110 pounds. So my son was born addicted to methadone. He had to taper in the hospital on a morphine taper for 2 months. After I had him, my doctor told me that I needed to stay on methadone pretty much for the rest of my life. She said, you need to look at this as a long-term solution to your life. You have no chance at having any quality to your life if you aren't on methadone for at least the next 20 years. The treatment center that I work at, I'm in charge of the intakes and the administration, so my job is talking to clients every day who are calling to get themselves on the wait list. So we've got people on the wait list that have been calling for 2 to 3 months. They call every single day, and they call and they're crying, begging to get a spot into treatment. But there's not enough funding, there's not enough funded beds for people who can't afford to pay $6,000 to $10,000 a month for a space to get clean. So why is it that there's this separation? It's not fair that somebody who can fork out all this money to get clean can go get clean right away, and somebody who doesn't have all this money or family who can pay for them to get clean has to wait 2 to 3 months, because a lot of the time people either stop calling and they don't get clean or they don't make it. Like they overdose and die before they can get a bed.
There were multiple times, multiple doctors who said, no, you can't come down. You have to stay on the dose you're at. This is your life. This is what it's become. You can't get off methadone. It's not easy. This is what it is. Accept it. Yeah, well, here's some more pills. Maybe you need to go up 10 mils. Here's 10 more mils. That's what they offer you. That's what they offer you. There's a way out of it, right? It's called recovery. It's called abstinence. It's a life worth living, a new life. It's what we've been doing all along here.
I had used them individually, you know, for short periods of time, but there was no real change made. It was like, here's this, and off you go. And being told that that's my solution to everything when it really became a crutch to get me between fixes. I think it's insane that the recovery and abstinence space isn't something that's encouraged more in this province or in this country. Like it's scary, the state of things right now. I feel fortunate that I've been given the opportunity to be freed from like these substances and the prescriptions and all the shit that comes with it. It'd be nice to see more people get that opportunity.
It's completely unfair to Canadians that people who are using substances are creating the narrative for substance use disorder. I truly believe, as a former substance user, that the people that should be creating the narrative are those that have survived addiction and come through the other side to change. One of the reasons why I decided to chair Recovery at ABC, and I probably volunteer about 15 to 20 hours a week just in community events that have to do with recovery, because I don't want my story to not happen for the next person. Abstinence works for thousands and thousands of people in this community, and in Canada it works for millions of people. I have seen the worst of the worst with mental health, trauma, PTSD, the worst horrible life stories get clean. I've seen it for myself. I mean, I can't even believe I got clean. I mean, the idea that it's impossible to get clean is not true.